Good morning, Nevada. You are listening to Healthy Nevada with Tina Drago and Jim Godwin, coming to you live from the Beasley Broadcast Studio A. Good morning, Jim. How are you?
Well, Tina, I am doing spectacularly. As my voice cracks, my voice is finally changing now that I'm hitting 40. How are you doing this morning?
Oh, I love that. I'm doing well. And my voice isn't changing, but it is laughing a lot. Last week I went back to school, so I'm a little happy to be back at work now and not sitting in.
That would explain those pictures of you in a toga.
Oh, exactly. Party. I wish it was that much fun. It was very serious material. Very serious.
And although I know what you're referring to, I'm going to pretend like I don't and say, what do you mean you went back to school, Tina Drago?
I went to the Federal Tort Claim University. And I bet you're wondering, what the heck is that?
I actually am, even though I advertised it greatly. I do not know a lot of the details for it.
So, federally qualified healthcare centers, once you get the big acronym FQHC, then you can apply to get FTCA, Federal Tort Claim, privileges, which basically means that the federal government steps in and handles any malpractice and legal claims against the clinic. So on one hand, it's a great resource because if somebody sues my little bitty nonprofit community health center, they're actually suing the federal government. The Department of Justice steps in and takes over. For example, that would be, if Bob Smith didn't like the way he was treated in there and he was going to sue us, know that you're suing the Department of Justice, the federal government, not little bitty healthcare center on the corner of the community.
Bob.
So, but they don't just give this out just because you're an FQHC. You have to apply for it separately. You have to earn that ability and those resources. So 2 days, 8 hours each day of learning what we needed to do for the government to have our back. And I got to tell you, it's no small feat. I mean, they really do protect themselves, the government that is, because they don't take just any Tom, Dick, and Dr. Harry. You have to have, good credentials and privileges and update on your education and a clean record. And, they want to know that they've got the best doctors in the community health centers doing their job for this population. So there's responsibilities on both sides of the fence. It was intense.
Yeah, it also allows people to sue. What was I trying to say here now?
I don't know. People shouldn't sue. Don't sue unless there's true harm.
That is true.
I mean, if there's true harm and you've been unjustly treated or your life has been discombobulated because of somebody else's actions, absolutely, that's what lawsuits are out there. But if you had to wait too long in the waiting room and you didn't like the way the doctor talked to you, and I've had people tell me, I'm going to sue you, and I'm like, oh my golly, not cool, man, not cool. So...
That is true. And on the flip side, it also allows the citizens of the United States to sue the United States government as well.
Yes.
And here's a little bit of interesting knowledge that I happen to know about it, is that when that went through Congress in 1946 or in 1945, B-25 bomber crashed into the Empire State Building in thick fog.
Oh.
And 8 months after the crash, the U.S. government offered money to the families of the victims, and some accepted, but others started a lawsuit against the federal government for how they handled the situation. And so the Federal Tort Claim Act was passed in 1946 and then made retroactive for the people aboard the plane that crashed into the Empire State Building to allow those victims to seek recovery.
Huh. Well, that's good to know.
A little bit of tidbit that
So,
I
so
find
the
it
Federal
interesting.
Tort Claim Act's been around a long time.
Yes, it has.
And it's good to know because, even though you have the federal government, we all know that everybody's human and people make mistakes. I'm not saying politicians and bureaucrats make more than the average person, but yes, I am saying that. So,
Just common knowledge.
well, with absolute
I think my
authority.
phone's tapped now.
Your phone's what?
That was a I said, I think so. My phone is tapped now.
Yeah, exactly. With absolute, capability, what's that? It comes absolute corruption. Absolute authority, absolute corruption. So this helps keep everybody in check. This program, and I was excited to learn about it. I'm not quite there yet as far as our FQHC because we are a lookalike, not an NAP grantee. So I don't have the privilege yet, even though I did lobby for it while I was there. That lookalikes should have the privilege. Go figure, right? Because I'm thinking common sense. If a nonprofit community health center aspires to be an FQHC, they have to go through a lot of policies, procedures, credentialing. I mean, it's a long walk in the park to get your nonprofit clinic up to the standard to qualify for a federally qualified healthcare center. So it's not something that you can just decide, I just want to change my my value structure and be an FQHC. No, you really have to do a lot of background work and a lot of structural work in the organization and all that stuff. And
is it actually a walk in the park, or is it more of a walk through a corn maze?
You know what? It's more like a walk through a cactus maze. It's trouble. I mean, it's difficult, and people who aspire to do it and actually get it done, even as a lookalike, because the NAP grantees are competitive and only come out like every other year or every 18 months. And it's a competitive round, so not everybody that tries gets it. But if you're aspiring to be an FQHC and you qualify as a lookalike, which we've talked about before is not competitive, but the credentialing version of it, you should have access to these privileges because you are, in a sense, doing exactly what the grant is asking you to do. So that was my reason for lobbying for it. And I actually had a lot of people support me. So,
nice.
Well, and I'm looking at it, like I said, from a practical point of view, that I'm a nonprofit community health center, and I want to be an FQHC. A lot of them wait for the grant cycle to come out, and they do it that way because they get money to help them become an FQHC. Mm-hmm. But if you go as a lookalike off the grant cycle, you have met everything that the government's given you money for. It's very backwards. So with that in mind, wouldn't the federal government wouldn't it behoove them to have more nonprofits aspire on their own to be federally qualified healthcare centers and get credentialed as a lookalike before they give them the grant dollars to expand?
That certainly makes sense to me.
I would think so. Everybody should have their own little skin in the game. So by having the federal tort claim, that's one more carrot that would aspire a nonprofit to go for a lookalike status. And then you're having higher quality in your communities, that you're working with the people in your area, that you're collaborating with other nonprofits. I mean, there's so many pluses that go with it, and it's more cost effective for the federal government.
Yeah, and it's easier to do that work when there's more carrots in front of you.
Exactly. So that was my lobbying effort to do that. So I did learn that, people sue for all different reasons. The number one reason people sue, you know what it is?
No.
Money. The number one reason is they want money. It has nothing to do with being harmed. Do you know what the number two reason is?
No.
Someone hurt their feelings.
My goodness.
The number one reason people sue is they want money. The number two reason is they don't feel they're being heard and their feelings are hurt.
Wow.
Actually, like somewhere down the line, I think it was like 7 or 8, was that you were actually harmed.
That there was actually wrongdoing.
There was actually wrongdoing. Yeah. So what does that say about, yay, America?
really helps back up our Sue Happy culture.
Right. So, I mean, and, I think I've told you this before, I blame it on McDonald's.
Yes, and that's exactly what I was going to bring up.
Okay, you bring it up. This.
Oh, no. The cup of coffee is in your lap.
Oh, no kidding. I mean, somebody who orders a cup of hot coffee and then sues because they drop it in their own lap and, God forbid, it's hot. Yeah. And then the court system goes, yeah, you have a point there. We should mark these hot styrofoam things, and on the outside we should say it's hot. And not only should we just say it's hot, we should say it's caliente also, in case you don't, in case, you don't speak English and you need to know it's hot in Spanish as well. Yeah. So I blame everything. That was a slippery slope those judges did there.
It was, which brings up my lawsuit, because I spilled some milk and it was really, I had no idea it was that milky.
Milky.
Nowhere on there does it say that it's that milky.
Okay. And don't drink chunky milk either.
That's a good. That's just another health tip for all of our listeners out there.
Exactly, and nobody tells you.
The chunky milk.
Nobody tells you on the outside of the carton that it must be liquid form, that you shouldn't drink crunchy milk. That's what I learned. I also learned a lot about policies, procedures, putting everything in order, covering your tushy, a lot about human resources and, proper techniques of organizing your human resource files. And like I said, the policies and procedures and making sure everybody went out and read them and accepted them. And so there was quite a bit. Oh, and HIPAA regulations. Wow, that's a slippery slope too. I mean, we all know you don't discuss other people's health in public or with the person that's kind of just common sense in the medical field. But with technology, with computers and Wi-Fi and things like that, there's a whole nother realm to HIPAA and privacy laws. That
I can't even imagine. That just boggles my mind when you add those in, and social media and
exactly. We were talking about different social media faux pas out there, and it was really it was pretty bad, some of the things. But our younger generation just doesn't get that there's no such thing as privacy anymore. Yeah, they just think everybody knows everything about everything. And so they don't understand that privacy is like a privilege. I had a medical assistant, what do they call that when he checked in at the clinic? So on Facebook, he checks in at the clinic, and because I'm the administrator of our Facebook account, I see that he checks in. I'm like, okay, checks in at the clinic, and then proceeds to make a joke online about one of the patients that's in the lobby.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So I was like, you know what? You have to delete that, and now you need to go bye-bye. Walk him out. So I say anybody who has, and the fact that he was even on his phone at work and stuff like that, there was just so many reasons why he needed to go back and revisit education. And
on a side note, that's why it's important to have a social media policy in place, which I can help you out with that, Tina.
Could you? Because I tell everybody,
on the radio interview,
I tell everybody really no phones. Yeah, no phones at work, and no social media at work. That's kind of my social policy. Not at work, and nobody's allowed to go out in their scrubs to the bar. I'm like, you can't go to the bar after work in your scrubs. So I kind of make it real simple. These are the common sense things out there.
Yeah, and it's because of this lack of common sense and the Sue Happy culture that there have to be so many statutes and mandates and fine print and extensive policies regarding all of
and I'm trying
all of this.
And I'm trying to figure out at what point in time did it become acceptable to take pictures of yourself holding drinks and post it everywhere? I tell my kids all the time, Don't do that. They're like, Mom, it's a red cup. Nobody knows what's in it. I said, everybody knows what's in it. It's a red cup. You're in college. That's code for beer, Wapatui, cocktails, whatever. It's not like Gatorade in that cup. Okay. So, yeah, I'm constantly on them to clean up their Facebook and their Instagram and all that stuff. I'm like, you need to get a job someday in the real world. Not for your mom.
That is a given. Do you have any other fun takeaways? To use fun corporate jargon from the university experience you had?
Oh my gosh, we did some role playing, and that was kind of cool too. But all in all, it was 2 days of learning like 101 ways that people will sue you and 102 ways to deter that suing. So that was the big thing. I'm looking at your update this week, all your stuff. Here, tell me what's going on with, where am I here? What's going on with the federal government and the Affordable Care Act?
Oh, that's just yet another barrage of attacks against the Affordable Care Act that have just been going on since its inception. And this is probably the furthest any of these attacks on the Affordable Care Act have gotten. That a federal judge ruled that the Obama administration has been improperly funding subsidies for consumers buying coverage through the Affordable Care Act insurance exchanges.
So okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. All these insurances that are on the exchange, if you fall below, 200% federal poverty guidelines, you get a subsidy?
Yes.
Okay. Who chooses these insurance companies? Because this seems like a good old boy network. Tina's insurance company wants to give you insurance. Because
it is. That's one of the problems is they're kind of the big guys with the money, and that's big business.
Yeah,
and it's you're going up against some big guys just with your big pharmaceutical companies.
Yep,
they are powerful. I don't want to go into a diatribe about all the corporate interests that are involved in government and our society, but
they're there.
They are there all over.
All over. I find I'm really happy to hear that there's some light on this because, okay, so my 2 cents, which could roll into like $3, but I honestly feel that if you are going to subsidize somebody's insurance, you should allow it to be any insurance, not just the exchange insurance. And then that allows for those insurance companies to be more competitive with each other because I don't know if you've noticed, but insurance has literally gone up 3-fold, 4-fold in the last 15 years.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it has gone crazy.
Well, that's this finding also kind of helps support because a lot of the marketplace plans, the plans that are deemed eligible for the Affordable Care Act, a lot of them are quite expensive.
Yeah.
Or for decent insurance, the price goes up even more. Well, so this is it kind of lends a little bit of support to the people who say that the marketplace plans are not actually affordable.
Well, I don't think they're affordable. I have a 28-year-old employee that buys his insurance off the marketplace. He pays more for his insurance as a single man than I paid 15 years ago for a family of 4.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I was sitting here going, he's 28. I was like, 15 years ago, I was like 12. But literally 15 years ago, or let's say 2000, for me, my husband, and 2 babies, we were at like $275 a month with a $500 deductible. And he, as a single man, is at $280 a month. And,
wow.
And I know the cost of living hasn't gone up. And I know our actuarial rates have not gone up. And I know people are more health conscious than ever, much more than in the 90s. So I'm trying to figure out where the insurance companies feel that now me as a mature woman with a family, I would pay close to $1,000 a month for the same thing. Where does that justify?
It is a tricky area, and even with good insurance, things can still be outrageously expensive. I recently had to have some lab work done, and it was $175 with my insurance. And if I hadn't had insurance, that lab work would have cost upwards of $1,000.
You know what? It's to me, it's an engine out of control. Exactly.
Yeah.
It is just wildly out of control. And what really galls me is running a medical clinic. I daily have to explain to people that there are deductibles and copays daily. So these insurance companies go out there and nobody's really educated the population to say, no matter what, you're going to be paying this money. You're either going to be paying it to your provider or you're going to be paying it to the insurance company, because there is a set dollar amount of, let's say, $2,500 is the baseline cost. Now you can pay $1,000 of it, but then you have a $1,500 deductible that will be going to your provider. So any way you go, that $2,500 is going to be eaten alive. It's going to be eaten, and people don't understand that.
Yes, and well, on the one hand, it's nice to have more people with insurance. I think the focus should be we should shift the focus on having people be able to afford the health care.
I have people that they come in with insurance and they cannot afford the deductible, they cannot afford the copay, but because they don't want to be, they want to be legally compliant, they end up spending all their money buying insurance, which I think is probably one of the biggest farces that's been going on with the Affordable Care Act. Okay, I'm a Republican, and I am very, very, very conservative and fiscally conservative. But I honestly believe a one-payer mix with tiers makes sense. So you have Medicaid, Medicaid Plus, Medicaid Gold, Medicaid Silver, and as you go up, you have, you pay a little bit more each level to where everybody can get the services they need. Because the reality is, the poorest of our community are getting some of the best care. And our middle class is getting shafted.
That is true. And then this whole conversation leads us to shine a beautiful Broadway-style spotlight on community health centers, because our community health centers work with insurance, no insurance, and also provide a sliding fee scale.
You're so good at that. I love the way you take my tangent and wrap it around.
All right back around to something good.
And honestly, we do. We do underinsured, and that means people that have high deductibles and cannot afford to pay 100% of the doctor's office visits, we put them on the sliding fee scale. So they pay less and they get the services they need. And I think that's really important for people to know.
Yes, it's a great aspect of community health centers. It's why I go to a community health center for my primary health care. And so that's one nice shining beacon in this crazy storm of... I just lost my words. It
is a crazy storm. Healthcare is like really... It's like looking down, sometimes you can look down into a pool of water and you see the bottom and it's clear and it's beautiful and you can see fish going around. And then if you look at the pool of healthcare, it's muddy. You can't see anything. It's a swamp.
A little swampy.
Yeah.
A little swampy, and there's some alligators or crocodiles.
But we in the community healthcare, our health center business, are looking to clear up that swampy water and to make it affordable and very high quality and convenient for everybody.
Exactly. Which is another thing. Stress. Something I've been part of my job is to stress the fact that community health centers are purpose-driven, not profit-driven.
Yes.
And that's another reason I like going to community health centers. You have people that are there with a purpose-driven. They're there for people's health.
And
to take care of people. Same with the sliding fee scale.
Yep.
We will take anybody, and we will help you out and help improve your health and show you ways to get healthier.
You know, these grant dollars and these enhanced billing that these federally qualified healthcare centers get in community health centers and stuff like that isn't designed to give them more money because they've jumped through hoops, even though we have and we should. But it's designed so that the provider is looking at getting that patient healthier. Our goal is to have 10,000 patients that come once a year. That is our goal. We want those patients to have the best health possible. We don't want to have them to come back in a month to talk about this, or come back in 3 weeks to talk about that, or have to come in, quarterly just to get your prescriptions refilled. We want everybody to have their diabetes under control and their hypertension and all their different ailments, have their screenings done on a regular basis, and be healthy people.
Exactly, and a lot of people that have Medicaid or Medicare, they might just wait and go to the emergency room to get that taken care of because it seems faster and easier, but puts a huge burden on the taxpayers and a huge burden on your health when you can get that same preventative health care at a community health center.
Exactly.
That doesn't entail you waiting till the last minute to get that whatever health problem taken care of.
And another deterrent to going into the hospital is that the hospitals use really the most expensive medicines and equipment and everything that honestly you will not be able to get on the outside. So if you're with a community health center, they can set you up on a program that's affordable and that you can manage yourself. When you go into the hospital, they're triaging you and just trying to get you healthy again and out the door. So they use all kinds of extreme measures that wouldn't be available to you when you left.
Exactly. And they also just look for emergency, any pending emergency problems. A smaller problem that might develop into something bigger later might be overpassed because they're just making sure everything's okay for the here and now.
Exactly. Well, Jim, this half hour went pretty quick.
Holy moly, it sure did.
So, do you have any parting words before we sign off?
Just stay healthy, Nevada.
This is Tina Drago and Jim Godwin.